Okay, so this garden has been neglected this past week. I'm actually really ashamed of it. We've not had no rain now to speak of in a couple of weeks. My peppers look sad. Hasn't been watered now for a couple of days. Our daughter had to have a surgery last week, so we've been focusing on her. So everything is needing a drink. I'm needing to get some tomatoes out of there because they're dead. The beans over here, I think, is dead. I'm gonna pick what I can. This bed over here, I don't know what happened. We had this thing all cleaned out. I think I actually showed it on a video. We filled it full of beans, and you can see the purslane, and I think that's called crabgrass. It just took over. And I've got like 2 or 3 bean plants, that's it. Now this one here, I've got 1 cucumber plant. I planted him 2 or 3 times, and that's the only one that come up. Now there's not many weeds in there. I'll probably just let him go, see what he does. So right now we're gonna start doing cleanup. We've got to start getting ready. I need to have some empty beds anyway for some fall. I'm gonna plant rutabagas and some turnips and get some more radishes in. Strawberries doesn't look too good up there. I don't know if they're supposed to do that this time of year. I'm gonna cut all the dead off and get them strawed up real good. And hopefully they'll make it, if that's what they're doing, going dormant. But anyway, I'm gonna get started on cleaning this up. See if I can't make it look a little better. Cucumbers look pitiful, but they are still producing. Got one couple hanging right there. But yeah, they're about done as well. Let me see what I can do. All right, I got all 6 of these tomato plants pulled out of here. They wasn't doing a whole lot, and what was on there was rotten or eaten on. So I got that all cleaned out. I got this bean bed all pulled, put my fake snake in there to maybe keep those cats away, critters. And my husband just watered what is left. We're gonna let these cucumbers hang around for another week or so. There is blooms up there. There is some green. We'll see what they do. We don't want to pull them out today. These here, they can go. There's a few on them. Like this one over here could have got pulled. I'm just getting tired. And this one can get pulled. Maybe next time. These here are my best looking ones. So they'll probably be last to get pulled. They're the greenest and seem to still be putting on tomatoes. Strawberry bed looks rough. I gotta clean that one out. I never did clean that out. I'm probably gonna get this one cleaned out and amended, let it set for a couple of weeks, and then this is probably where my turnips and rutabagas is gonna go. And then that bed over there, we didn't take the dome off yet. We'll do that this week. And I'll start pulling all that yuck out of there. Like I say, this week we've neglected it, but family first. Our daughter needed us. So I have canned a lot thanks to a subscriber and friend of my husband's who has a good friend that got with my husband. He blessed us with 2 5-gallon buckets of tomatoes. So the deficit that I had from growing them over here, he made up for. And I still got my quota of salsa. So God is good all the time. I think that's going to be all we do right now. I might go over there and pick what few peppers I've got. But I'm going to be back to doing up the rest of them potatoes this week and see what else I can get. I need to do some tomato juice. I'm getting a lot in the freezer of them cherry tomatoes I was saving. Sweet potatoes are still looking good. I actually just kind of moved the dirt on them last weekend. They're not real big, but they're growing. And then those 2 over there, if they make it, because they're so dry, is the purple skinned ones. So yeah, we're coming to the end of the summer garden, but we're also ready for cooler temperatures. So I think that's going to be it for now. Okay, this is August 25th. This is my last week of the Every Bit Counts challenge. And I have got this big container of tomatoes. And this is what's left from the blessing tomatoes we got the other day. And I am going to just core them, probably cut them in half, and I'm going to put them in my pot over here, and I'm just going to put like a half a cup of water in there just to keep them from sticking, and I'm going to get them boiling, and then I'm going to put them in my, I don't know, I can't remember the name. It's an old-fashioned mill, and I'm going to make juice with the rest of them. I'll get that out and set up here in just a little bit while these are getting up to boiling. And then I'll get to where I can mill them and get them down to their juice. And this should make the rest of the juice that I need for this year close. I've got 3 quart bags of the big cherry tomatoes in the freezer yet. I might go ahead and get them out and get them done up tomorrow. And then I'll be done with that. And then I'm going to go back on the potatoes and get all them finished up. Because we're about 1 month away from going to get apples at our local orchard. And I will be starting making applesauce and apple chips. And as soon as I finish apples, I'm probably going to be late enough that I can dig my sweet potato plants. And that gets me started on getting my sweet potatoes done up for the year. So even though the challenge is going to be stopping, I'm still going to be going to get everything done for this year. It never ends. If you want to keep good, healthy pantry, you just got to keep going. Get all the bad spots off of it. I don't get too crazy. I just don't like all the bad spots cooking in there with it. These little bug bites right there. This in here I can tell is my tomato because the ones we got from neighbor down the road was beautiful. So I'm going to get these all cored and just cut in half so the juice will break down easier in them. And then I will be back. I ain't going to make you watch me do all this. It's rather boring. Sometimes when I'm just getting going cutting them, you'll see me cut them in half, but when I put them in the bottom, I squeeze it. What that does is releases some of the juice, so that helps it with the sticking. Not necessary. Don't even know if I'm probably wasting my time doing it. Makes me feel a bit better doing it though. So yeah, this is one of the tomatoes we was gifted because it is a nice tomato. So anyway, I'm going to get these all cut up and put in this pot and get them stewing, and then I'll show you how I mill them on my mill. Okay, here's what I ended up with. A nice pot full of them. Like I said, I put maybe a half a cup of water in the bottom just so they can get going cooking without scorching on the bottom. And they will cook down. And actually, when they get to cooking down, I may go get one of them bags of cherry tomatoes and just keep adding until I can get it all in there and get all this mess done at once. But yeah, I'm hoping for a full canner full of tomato juice when this is all said and done. We'll see. So I'm going to get this cooking, and I might start adding the cherry tomatoes, and I'll get the 3-gallon bags out of the freezer, and while I've got the mill out, there'll be one mess instead of 2. I think what I'm going to do is, I do have these 3 bags. I decided I am going to get these incorporated with all this juice. And then I would be completely done with tomatoes. Just popped open. So what I'm going to do is put them in my big pan here. I use this thing for everything. Found it at an antique mall. What I'm going to do is put hot water in it and just let them be in the hot water. I just thought this might be better if I just dump this down into the sink. But yeah, just keep them in the bags, but let them thaw. Do a quick thaw in the hot water here. Change it out as needed. Yeah, I'm going to add these all in. I think they'll still all fit in that because that's going to cook way down. So there, I'm going to let them soak and get set up with my tomato mill. All right, this is already cooking down really good. I've added one of those gallon bags of the cherry tomatoes in there. You see all the juice? It's making a lot, which is what I'm wanting. I just stir it occasionally. I may not be able to get another bag in there just because I don't want it so full that I can't lift it to the sink without it spilling. So I've got the 2 more bags that when I get this low enough after milling, I'll put them in and let them cook down too. But it's going along pretty good. Hasn't been on the stove very long, but they're really cooking down. But this is what you want. You want it to look like this. All right, the tomatoes are just about ready. Here is what I'm going to use. Is it a chinois? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's just my old-fashioned tomato mill. My mother-in-law gave this to me years ago. It's my favorite mill to do tomato juice with. It's simple. I mean, I've got another mill where I've got a crank on it, but boy, does it make a mess. So this here, I do have a towel here going over because my dishwasher's down here. So this will keep anything from dripping down. So I'm going to get the tomatoes. Bring them ahead over, and I've got a full pot. Put that out of the way. My ladle. And all I'll do, I do got a teaspoon here. When this gets so full of seeds, I like to take my teaspoon and just go down like that, and then I can get them out. But very straightforward how you use it. Just get you a scoop. That. I like to get plenty in there first time here. There. Just start side to side, smush them down every once in a while. Get them all good and flat. You want the pulp to come out really good. You want to keep going till they look dry. Get your arm muscles going. Kind of give them a good tamping here and there. And then when it gets decently, when it's touching the bottom, I like to just dump it ahead into this pot. And then go ahead and add some more. And you just keep doing this over and over until you're done. Once I get that pot empty, I will probably put them other 2 gallons of cherry tomatoes in there. And go ahead and get them worked up. Like I said, I've got a Cucina Pro, I think is how you say it, with the crank. But boy, there's so many parts to it. I only like getting that out if I've got oodles and oodles of tomatoes, because like I said, it takes a while to get it all cleaned back up. It is great. And actually what that is good for is when I make tomato sauce. But I probably won't make tomato sauce this year. Thinking we'll buy the organic canned applesauce, tomato sauce this year from Azure or Whole Foods or something, and skip me making it. We don't use a whole lot of tomato sauce anymore. If I make soup in the winter, I'm using a quart of this juice and a pint of mixed vegetables that I've canned, and I've got frozen shredded beef that I think I done in the other video a couple weeks back, and I just don't need a whole lot of tomato sauce. We love spaghetti, but we're trying not to eat as much red meat just because it's not as healthy as like chicken and turkey and fish. So that's what we've been focusing on, eating that. So I'm going to keep on going till I get this cycled through. Then I'll show you what my next step will be. Okay, I've done got the 1 pot full of juice, and it's on the stove getting up to proper temperature. And I'm just doing this last little bit here and putting it in a bowl so I can heat it up next round. What I'm going to, you can see I left probably 2 or 3 cups of water, or juice, it ain't water, in the bottom. And what I'm going to do is put them other 2-gallon bags of cherry tomatoes in there. And that'll help to prevent them from sticking while they cook down. That's getting good enough. So yeah, this bowl here is going to be full and ready to heat up whenever that pan gets done. So I'll just take those cherry tomatoes here. They're semi-thawed. I mean, there's still some hard ones in there. They break down pretty fast. Probably can't see me real well. There. That's the last of my frozen ones. And what I'll do is get them put on the stove and let them be cooking down while I'm getting the others, the juice, ready to put in the canner. And then hopefully the juice that I've got done up through the mill is going to be enough to do a round of tomato juice. And I'm hoping that maybe this here will get me a canner full of pints. So once that gets up to temp, I'll show you how I jar it up, because I do something. I put salt and then I put citric acid in it also, just so the acidity level is where it needs to be. Okay, I've got the pan here. It's got up to what it's heated up thoroughly. So I'm ready to put in jars for that. But what I'm going to do now is I'm using sea salt. And I'm going to put a teaspoon. This is a ½ teaspoon measure. So I'll put 2 in each one. This is not necessary. The reason I like to put salt in is sometimes my husband likes to grab one off the shelf, put it in the fridge, and then he drinks it. So salt just helps with the flavor. And fill them. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have enough for a full canner. Now, I've got citric acid, and it's a ½ teaspoon for a quart. What this does is it ensures that your acidity level is exactly where it needs to be. I didn't used to do this when I first started canning, because you would think, you know, tomatoes are acidic enough, and I mean, if I was being right down honest, I'd say they probably are. But with the many different varieties of tomatoes there is, you just don't know. So since you don't know, the citric acid, and you can also use lemon juice. I think it's like 2 tablespoons a quart of lemon juice. I don't want that lemony flavor in there. We don't taste the citric acid, so that's the reason we do the citric acid. So I'm just going to get these all filled up. That. And hopefully I'm going to have a canner full of tomato juice. I've still got some from last year, and I think I got a few on there from the year before on my shelf. So I'm good on tomato juice, but if I had not have canned any this year, I would have been low. I don't like to be too low. So I'm glad to be getting these on there. They look so pretty in the jars too. My shelves are filling up. This challenge has really helped me to keep going and keep filling the shelves. I've actually got several cucumbers in the fridge right now, getting cold, that I could be making a round of pickles too. I'm not sure about that yet, today anyway. I may have to soak them in ice water in the morning and get them done then. Okay, I think I got enough in here for one more, and then I'm going to have to heat up that bowl full, and I'll return and tell you how I can them. Okay, I got my 7 quarts ready here. I'm just wiping the lids. Whenever I rinsed the jars earlier, I checked to make sure there was no rough edges or no cracks or any broken glass. Washed my lids. I used 4 jars canning lids. Actually, they had a pretty good deal on their website this week, so I ordered me some, which I know I won't go through all of them, but they'll be a good start for me for next year. Okay. Since these are water baths, you can tighten the rings good. You don't have to worry about them being too tight to buckle like you do in a pressure canner. So just as tight as you can get them with your hand there will work. And get them put in the canner. Alright, I have them in the water bath. You want to make sure the water is covering them lids. These are going to go 40 minutes for quarts. If you was doing pints, it would be 35. So once it gets up to boiling, then you can set your timer for 40 minutes. Let the canner do its thing, and then get them out, and you've got shelf-stable tomato juice. All done. 7 quarts of tomato juice, 7 pints of tomato juice. That should top off what I need for the winter. And now I can go on to something else. The tomatoes aren't in the freezer anymore. Tomorrow I think I'm going to try and freeze some more fries and do a round of pickles. Okay, I've got some pickles here in ice water. I'm going to let them soak for an hour or two. And I've got more mix on the stove simmering for that. But the first thing I want to do is get these potatoes addressed. I was going to do fries today. I know I've been saying that in every video. I'm going to do that, but the fries can wait. We love roasted potatoes, and so when we dig potatoes, we get all the small ones because we leave skins on. We wash them good, quarter them or half them, and make a sheet pan meal out of them. But these are starting to, there's some of them getting just a little soft, still usable. So I thought, I'm going to do the same method like I do the freezer fries. Only I got them cleaned, and I'm going to get some water in the sink here, and I'm going to quarter them, let them soak in the water, drain it, fill it up again just to kind of get a little bit of the starch off. And then I've got water heating up. I'm going to blanch them just like I would if I was going to make fries. And I'll spray them with the olive oil, and then I'll flash freeze them. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put them in a gallon Ziploc bag, fold it to get all the air out of it. And my hope is when I want to have roasted potatoes in the winter, I can pull out a bag and put in my breadcrumbs, my shredded Parmesan, all my seasonings, and olive oil, and just give it a good shake and still have our sheet pan potatoes. So anyway, these have got to be worked up anyway, faster than we're going to eat them. So I'm going to get these all cut up, and we're going to give it a whirl and see how it goes. I think it'll do fine. Freezer fries does excellent, so I think if I just take them out and get it from the frozen state, go ahead and get them all coated and put in the pan, I think they'll be fine. So that is what's on the agenda for today. All right, I got them all in a bowl here, and I got my water in my sink, and all I'm going to do is just quarter them. Now this in here needs it cut. We like them smaller pieces. We leave the skins on. Now here, this in here, you can tell it's got the bug bites. So I want to get that off. And if you see any with green on them, which here's one that's got a spot of green, you want to get that off because that means that was above ground and it got sunburnt. So you want to get rid of that. But yeah, this is something I'm doing for the first time because we usually hurry up and eat these first after we've dug potatoes. And then all winter long, we don't have any because I don't like to buy store-bought potatoes. See, there's a green one. You don't want that. So you just cut that part off. Now, Mom would always cut the green off too. It's supposed to be toxic if you eat it. Some people say it is. Some people say, oh, we eat it anyway. So I don't know if it's large quantities that is toxic or what. We don't do it. But, you know, I'm just looking for any bad spots and getting rid of them. Just went ahead and mixed them. There's some reds in here too. That don't matter. That one's bad. If this works, I'll be doing a lot of this probably next year. I've got some more smaller potatoes in here in the back room that isn't this small, but some that I really don't want to have to mess with peeling. So I may even do some of them. I just don't want to do all this, and we don't like the texture. But they're going to go bad anyway because we can't eat that many. So I'm going to get all of these done up. No sense you sitting here watching me do this. And then I'm just, like I said, I'm going to treat them just like I would my freezer fries. And I'm going to coat them in oil. I think they'll do all right. I may later this week go ahead and get a bag out and just give it a test run. And if they do good, then maybe next week with the smaller potatoes, I'll go ahead and do another round. Just so we'll have potatoes throughout the winter. Because whatever I preserve is what we eat on. Earlier this spring, I did break down and I bought a 5-pound bag of potatoes. I needed them for something. I forget what it was for. But I used what I needed. But because we was using for what I canned, I forgot about them. They was just, I laid them in the floor of my pantry. And actually, it was just a couple weeks ago I seen them laying there and I thought, well, those aren't any good. You know, they've been sitting there. They're probably soft, sprouted. Well, I get a hold of them and honestly, they looked like the day I bought them. And that actually concerned me because those things had to be 6 to 7 months old. They should have been sprouted. They should have been soft, and they wasn't. I don't know why, but it kind of made me think what was put on them to preserve them, and so I want to just stick with doing our own potatoes, so I know that we didn't put nothing on them. And there may not have been nothing on them. Maybe my pantry's just that good that it preserved them. I don't know. But I won't buy potatoes. I like to just do my canned or my frozen. We don't eat a whole lot of potatoes anyway, but we tend to eat them more right after we've dug them. So yeah, having these in the freezer is going to help. So I'm going to get these the rest of the way chopped up, and then all I got to do is blanch them for 5 minutes or so in just like I would fries. Shock them. I'll have ice water in here. Shock them, and then I'll have a towel here. Get them all patted dry. We'll put them on baking sheets. Freeze them for 2 hours, and then I can bag them up. All right, I've washed them like 3 times, and I've got them all sitting in this cool water right here. No, you can't see it real good. I've got ice water in here. I've got a clean towel. What I'll do is just, after I blanch them for 5 minutes, I'll put them in the cold water, shock them, and I'll just put them over on this towel. And that's where I'll get the cooking sheets out. I put a piece of parchment paper over it. And then I spritz it real good with olive oil. And I'll just lay the dried potatoes onto them and freeze them for 2 hours. Just like I did the fries in a previous video. Nothing different, just different shape. And then I'll get them put into bags. And as soon as I get them in the freezer, then I can start on more pickles. All right, first round just come out of the ice water. I patted them dry. Just take your towel and pat them, nothing major. And then I've got my first pan over here. I spritzed it with just olive oil, just with a mister. And all I'll do is just put these on here single file, fill it up good, and get it in the freezer. Nothing too complicated. You just want them froze so you ain't got a big blob whenever you do take them out to do something with them. Flash freezing helps that. So I'm gonna get this full and in the freezer, and then it'll be about 4 minutes. My second round's coming out. There we are. I ended up with 5 bags. Like I said, I wanted to put them in a gallon bag. Get out as much air as you can before you seal them. So now when I take one out of the freezer, I'll just open it up, put my 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, my 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan, the seasonings, which we like salt and pepper and garlic powder. Give it a good shake. Pour it in a olive oil sprayed baking sheet. And we'll still have our roasted potatoes. I am going to take one out probably end of the week, maybe the beginning of next week, and do an experiment. If it works, I'm liable to do more of this, because this is our favorite way of eating potatoes. So yeah, if I don't forget, I will video how it turns out and let you know. But yeah, if this works the way I think it's going to work, I'll be doing a lot more of these. So I got 4 pints of pickles done. While these was in the freezer, they was probably in there for close to 3 hours. So yeah, 4 more pints of pickles, which I think I've hit my quota this year on them, even though my cucumbers wasn't that good. So this is probably all I'll get today. And like I've said every other day, I think tomorrow's the day I'm going to do French fries. So stay tuned. All right, I did get 5 bags, quart bags of freezer fries done. After a week of saying that I was going to do fries the next day, I actually got to do fries. And then I did sort through some of my potatoes, and I got more of these little ones. So tomorrow, if everything would go all right, I might get started with making more roasting potatoes for the freezer. All right, I think I'm ending this Every Bit Counts challenge with, I did 3 more bags of the roasting potatoes. I organized my freezer, both freezers, and I actually got me some potatoes that I put up for my seed potatoes next year. Now, just because the challenge is over does not mean I'm done preserving. I'm getting close on the potatoes to being done with them, and then I'll start in on apples. The orchard we get them from has posted that they're getting apples now, so it won't be long. So if you enjoyed this kind of content, if you enjoyed my videos, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. I really do appreciate it. But until next time, I think my next video will probably be a price comparison on some things. So stay tuned. Bye for now.